Christmas Day is a time for families to enjoy some quality time together, spread some joy, maybe exchange some presents, eat some good food, and then, for the sports fans, things usually result in them settling into their couches to watch some incredible NBA matchups go down. NBA Christmas is a tradition that has contributed to so many people's love for the game growing, myself included, and this year, the matchups we got lived up to every bit of the hype and more. For today's video, we'll be going over the 4 biggest lessons learned from these outings that should definitely be monitored as we work our way through the remainder of the season, as they could end up affecting things quite a bit. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. Our first big lesson learned from the Christmas Day slate is that Victor Wembanyama is ready to focus on winning on the big stage, but the rest of the Spurs team is not. The league got a bit of flack from fans on social media for slotting the Spurs into a Christmas Day game, despite being so bad last season, and choosing them over some established good teams like the Cavaliers, Thunder, and Bucks had those fan bases a bit salty. But on top of winning, this day is about entertainment value and promoting the next generation of elite superstar talent, and that's exactly what we got watching Wembanyama in the first game of the day to kick things off. He came into the league hyped up to be one of the greatest prospects the league has ever seen, and when one of your first real national TV performances with everybody watching results in you putting up a line of 42 points, 18 rebounds, 4 blocks, and 6 threes made, you're pretty much letting the world know that the hype is justified. Wembanyama was sensational all game, inside and out, attacking the rim, using his absurd length to finish over contesting defenders, spacing the floor, knocking down deep threes, and making his presence felt everywhere on defense. A player like that is ready to make a run, but the team around him is still a long way away from being able to say the same thing. The Spurs bringing in Chris Paul has definitely been an immense help for running the offense and getting Wemby consistently good looks, but they definitely need more win-now talent in the rotation, and with how good Wemby is looking, they may actually get aggressive around the trade deadline. The Spurs are 15-15 with an otherwise rebuilding roster, and are just a game out of a playoff spot, so with just 1 or 2 more pieces, they could and should absolutely try to make that leap, because the sooner they can get this group some playoff experience, the better. The next lesson learned from the Christmas slate is that the Philadelphia 76ers aren't actually a total disaster when they have their big 3 available all at once. It doesn't always have to be rocket science when it comes to figuring out what works well with a group and what doesn't. The 76ers went all in this offseason on a group filled with talent that would have veteran guys hungry to win now, and they went all in on a longtime star in Paul George who signed with them on a max contract. The beginning of the season has not been kind to the Sixers at all though, as everything that seemingly could have gone wrong for them did in fact go wrong. Joel Embiid started the year experiencing more setbacks in his knee that he tore last season. Paul George strained his knee twice, forcing him to miss some time. Tyrese Maxey even suffered a minor injury that forced him to miss 6 games. It turned out that new signing Caleb Martin had been dealing with a shoulder injury that was hampering his shooting ability, and the only real bright spot, Jared McCain, saw his spectacular rookie campaign come to an end with a season-ending injury. So there was good reason to be pretty sour on this group, especially with them losing way more than they were winning. Slowly but surely though, they have been crawling back into the mix and have now won 8 of their last 11 games, and a win over the reigning champion Boston Celtics on Christmas is a pretty great way to announce that they're not done yet. With Caleb Martin's shoulder healing, he could be the X factor for this team, as he has a history of playing his best basketball against the Celtics in big games, and he had his best game of the year in this matchup to no surprise. They have the defensive versatility at full strength to compete with the best of the best. Tyrese Maxey's game consistently gets unlocked when Joel Embiid is on the court with him, and they won this game without even needing a good game from Paul George, so we may be watching the tides turn for them as they head into the second half of the season. The next lesson learned from the Christmas slate is that the Golden State Warriors desperately need a second star. A month ago, the Warriors were sitting in second place in the Western Conference standings, but since then, they've come way back down to reality and have drifted all the way down to 10th place. This season has been a bit of a struggle for Steph Curry in particular too, but it's not really fair for what he's being asked to do at this point in his career. In order for the Warriors to succeed, they basically need his MVP form every night, and at 36 years old, Curry is simply no longer capable of giving that night after night. He's still obviously capable of exploding for big games every now and then, and last night against the Lakers on Christmas, we saw exactly that happen, as he dropped 38 points, doing everything he could to try to steal the win, hitting clutch shot after clutch shot, but it still wasn't enough to outduel a Lakers squad that was missing Anthony Davis for most of the game as he suffered an injury pretty early on in the night, and that speaks to the state of the Warriors as a whole. They have a lot of over-the-hill role players and streaky young talent in the rotation and are lacking in a real second star to take pressure off of Steph Curry on the offensive end. There have been rumors for a while now that Jimmy Butler wants out of Miami, and the Warriors have been linked to him for obvious reasons, but even if they can't land Butler, they need to get aggressive at the trade deadline and try to find any kind of upgrade if they intend to make the playoffs. And finally, the last lesson learned from Christmas Day is that the Nuggets' lack of depth is going to be what holds them back. Nikola Jokic is having the best offensive season of his career right now, which is saying something because he was already one of the most prolific offensive talents the game had ever seen, but he's pretty much doing so out of sheer necessity. Ever since the Nuggets won the finals, they've been nonchalant about retaining their valuable role players, and now we're at a point where their depth is completely depleted, and Jokic has even more of a load to carry. Jamal Murray has not been the player that he used to be all year long, Michael Porter Jr. and his max contract have become an issue, and Russell Westbrook is just way too streaky and chaotic to realistically be considered the best bench player on a team at this point in his career. They don't have a reliable backup center to give Jokic a stress-free spell, they severely lack offensive firepower when it's not coming from Jokic's doing, and defensively, Jokic's struggles on that end are becoming even more glaring because he's overworking himself on the offensive end. The Suns were missing Devin Booker last night and still comfortably handled the Nuggets, and while the Nuggets are still good enough to make the playoffs obviously, it's becoming more and more difficult to trust them to make any kind of run. We may be witnessing the end of the Nuggets core as we know them, because a shakeup will probably need to happen if they want to get back into contention, and especially will need to happen if they fall short. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what your biggest takeaways from the Christmas slate were last night. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.